in Asian culture,
Yeah.
getting a divorce is like, now you've got to sit in the corner and your life is over.
She has changed her setbacks, challenges, disappointments into something very new, exciting, having a brand new life of freedom. Let's find out more from our guest, Sonia Gupta.
Of course, hi, Jack. Well, thank you for having me, first of all. Really great to be here. So, as you mentioned, I threw a divorce party, which really is unheard of.
Mm-hmm.
But it was really just to liberate myself and find my new life and find my new voice. So I threw a party just for me to be happy. Little did I know that it would go viral.
Yeah.
But it's actually been quite liberating.
Mm-hmm.
But it literally changed my life. And throwing that party was the start of my new life. And people say, well, why did you do it?
Mm-hmm.
Well, when you get married, you have a reception because it's the start of a new life, right?
Yes.
So for me, being free was the start of my new life. So I threw a party.
Sonia, let's know a little bit more about you. So if we go back a few years.
Okay, so I'm born and brought up in the UK. I've been here all my life. I did, though, get married in India. So I went to India and I got married, and the plan was to stay there, in all honesty, and everyone finds that quite surprising. But I actually like being in India. You know, it's a good life. But my biggest hurdle in the marriage, well, actually, not in the marriage itself, but after I knew things were going wrong, were actually my family.
Mm-hmm.
They were unsupportive of the divorce. They were my biggest hurdle, I should say.
Yeah.
So the marriage in itself was always a bit rocky up and down. But then when I decided I needed to break free, it actually took me 8 years to bring my family on board, which, being in the Asian society, you know, not really, divorce is not the done thing, it's not the right thing.
Yes.
So I wasn't working as well at that time. I was a stay-at-home mum, looking after the ex-husband and the children.
Yeah.
And so I decided to get my career back. So I work in finance now, but I also have now started a sideline, which we can talk about a little bit later on.
Yes.
But the biggest hurdle was my family and actually being free from them. My childhood was okay, but me and my mum always had a really rocky relationship.
Yeah.
So when the husband came along, mum being the typical Asian kind of mum, he was everything. He was perfect. He was amazing. He did all the right things, and I did all the wrong things, unfortunately.
In terms of when you obviously got married, was this arranged or
introduced? Yeah, we were introduced. It wasn't like you have to marry him. I had a choice.
More about
we were introduced. So,
mm-hmm.
which is what I'm really trying to do, is educate, if I can, the older generation. Like, when your child comes and says to you they want a divorce, it's actually a really hard decision. They haven't woken up one day and said, oh, do you know what? I'll have a divorce. It's a really hard decision. And to make that decision takes guts and courage.
Yeah.
And it'd be nice if they understood that and supported us on the other side of it, rather than be the barrier, which unfortunately my family were for like 7 to 8 years.
Mm-hmm.
And when I talk about that, that is what I find really hard, that they simply had no understanding of what it was I was going through and why I needed to be free.
But sometimes, do you think that, I mean, if we talk generally, like the modern generation, the boys, girls marrying, and sometimes you think they take very quick decisions, even just within a year or 2 years of life, married life, they decide to part ways and they go for a divorce. So do you think that is becoming a bit more of a culture, not giving the time to adjust with each other, or just very quickly move away?
I think there's a little bit of both. I think there's quite a few elements here. I think sometimes people do give up too quickly. I have spoken to people in this new venture that I'm doing that have said, oh, do you know what? I really think I need to get a divorce. And I've heard their story and their circumstances. I'm like, no, you know what? It's actually not as bad as you're thinking. You just need to work on a few things and a bit more communication, and it could be a lot worse, because I've spoken to people in awful situations and some people that aren't. So yes, there is an element of truth that people think, oh, well, I could just walk away.
And even though we say ourselves, our generation is modern, or we are living in a modern tech age and where equality is there, do you think still in our culture, if such thing happens, let's say there is a divorce between two people, and they think that she's the cause of this whole relationship, and men are not really pointed fingers at, you feel that way?
I think women, I don't think they're blamed as such. I think it's more, well, you should have just stayed. You should have just put up.
So
my mum is a perfect example.
Yeah.
My marriage was not in a good way, but she's like, why are you leaving? You should just stay. And her answer was, all men are like this. And I'd be like, no, they're not. But my mum is one of those people that would say, no, you should just stay. Why are you leaving? You've got 2 children. You need to stay. But I don't think women get the blame as in it's your fault.
Yeah.
As in you, but they get the blame in it's your fault for leaving.
Yeah.
Both men and women should make adjustments, but ultimately you'll find that it's mainly the women that walk away in the end.
Yes.
Mainly the women that say, actually, I can't do this anymore. And then they get the blame for not putting up. But they've done their level best to a point. I mean, I really, really tried. It wasn't like I woke up one morning and had a light bulb moment and thought, oh, I'm going to leave.
Yes.
It was a really long, hard decision for me to get there.
Yes.
But it was after years of trying and actually no support from anybody.
Mm-hmm.
So we get the finger pointed, but in a different way.
Yeah. And what about the people who are, let's say somebody's listening to this conversation and they are in a similar stage as you are, where they're not actually divorced yet, but they are, I wouldn't say thinking about it, but maybe they are in a similar stage where they found themselves being pressurized by the family to stay in the marriage, don't tell the public, don't tell your relatives, keep it quiet to themselves, and they are told to force to adjust. So do you think there is any sort of a channel where they can discuss these issues with somebody, or in the community of people who are in the same situation, or what do you suggest they should be doing?
I think they need to decide for themselves what the right thing is to do. But sometimes when you speak to your family or your friends, they're going to give you a biased opinion and a biased view. So which is actually what I've been doing. Is I actually had a phone call this morning as well from a lady who just wasn't sure what she should do next. And in fact, she needs to go. Her situation is bad. She needs to leave. And that was my word to her. You cannot stay. This is not feasible. It's not viable. You need to do what's right for you and your child. There are certain situations where, unless you're deeply, deeply unhappy, you may be able to make it work. But if they're not sure, my door is always open for them to talk to. And I give a very honest view on what I think is the scenario. Obviously, it's always their decision at the end of the day. But I know when I was looking for answers, some of my friends that weren't married would be like, oh no, there's nothing wrong, Sonia, just stay. Because they can't see what I'm going through. My mum and dad definitely wanted me to stay.
You may have seen there are a lot of people who post in these social groups, and they ask strangers to give advice to them regarding the splitting up or not. Do you think that's a good idea if you just write a big essay about your life story and telling them this is going on, that's going on, my other half is doing this, that, and I'm trying and adjusting hard, but I can't, and I'm thinking to do this. What do you guys suggest? I mean, how can somebody suggest or tell if they're not even gone through, but then they become the victim of having, bullying comments and jokes being made, which makes the situation more worse for this person who is already in trouble, but now they post it on the public, and then the public is giving them poor comments. So do you think that was the right thing to do for this person so if people are listening and they may have done this, so for the girls or women to do this, is this right or wrong?
I think it's a difficult one, because I think it's wrong that they post that. It's the people that comment with the unkind comments that are actually in the wrong. I wouldn't say the person that's in trouble is in the wrong, because that's what social media is for.
They want some advice.
You may find somebody. You may find somebody who has been in the same situation. There was a post on one of these groups yesterday, and actually the anonymous person is in exactly the same situation that I was in. Literally,
Right.
word for word.
Right.
So I said, reach out to me. I didn't give any words of advice because, again, her scenario might be different.
Mm-hmm.
And I always say that there is no judgment. I think if you're going to give somebody advice, just offer an ear, talk to them, because you need to understand their circumstances. You can't just give blanket advice to people.
Yeah.
You need to understand their full scenario before you can say, well, this may be the right thing, that might be the right thing. But it's really down to the individual, because I had lots of different advice given to me.
Okay, so I have a very difficult question. They were married for a long time, and he starts seeing somebody else, and things happened. And then everybody was like trying to, ask both of them to stay in the marriage, their parents, their friends, family, including us as well, to work out the things. But do you think if any other half, either one of them, so either it's the man or the woman, if they have seen somebody, and then they say, okay, I don't want to do that, sorry, it was my mistake, and blah blah blah, I'm back with you now, I won't do this again. So do you think there is a possibility that a woman should consider that, or do you think divorce is the only option? Because I think that is pretty much one of the main big reasons. So what do you, it's just
I
purely
don't think divorce
opinion.
is the only option. So it depends on the people, individuals. So it depends on the circumstances around the reason that person went out of their marriage.
Mm-hmm.
There's so many factors involved, but some people have had affairs, outside of their marriage, and they have come back together and made it work.
Mm-hmm.
But it takes a lot of work. And if it's the man that's had the affair, it's well and true that women will always go back, well, you did that. They repeat history. They'll be like, any argument like, well, you did that to me.
Right.
Women can't help it. It's their nature. It's their makeup.
Mm-hmm.
Men, I think, though, find it also very hard to forgive a woman if they cheated.
Yeah.
So in answer to your question, what should they do? It's individuals and how they perceive it. Some say a man has cheated and the woman actually really wants to walk away. But the reason she doesn't walk away is because she's simply not strong enough. She's not strong enough. She's not resilient. She doesn't feel that she can walk away because she's scared. There's a really big element of fear of when you walk away from what you think is your stability and your norm. It's not an easy decision.
Yeah.
So there's no right or wrong after somebody has an affair, but it's down to the individuals. I don't think you can say to somebody, you need to go and make it work, because that's their personal choice. And if they love that person and the other person can forgive them, then that's fine. But it's a hard one to overcome. It's not the easiest of situations.
And what about the children? So in this situation, how you've been through that as well. So how do the kids get affected? And I think one of your video or post was about your boy's birthday and his dad is not there. So let's touch base a little bit on the children's side and just walk us through that situation.
So I have been very fair when it comes to my children. I have never ever put my own emotions on my children, how I feel towards my obviously, but he's still the boy's dad. And it's very unfair for me to say, well, your dad's like this, or your dad's like that, or your dad did this. So one of my key things that I really want to bring out with my new venture is do not do the whole parental alienation thing. I think it's just wrong. We brought these beautiful children into the world as a couple to give them the best. Just because it hasn't worked out between me and you, the other person, it's not their fault. Because the stability for the children is key. Because they didn't choose this.
Right.
They didn't choose this path. They didn't choose this life. Unfortunately, circumstances have brought them into this situation.
Yes.
And what I don't agree with is also when, and it happens a lot, is when partners say, it's between me and your mum, and they'll call each other names, and the children are there. But, yeah, absolutely. The dad is the dad, unless the dad is abusive towards the children. And there are some scenarios that are like that. And there are also mums that do it. Do not get me wrong. I'm not all about just supporting women. I'm actually supporting men as well, because I've got two very close friends of mine who, one went through a whole custody battle with his daughter, and then got full custody of her, and then, you know, things have changed. And another friend of mine who didn't see his children for years, they take their bitterness out on the children inadvertently. And for me, that is wrong completely. I cannot condone it at all. There's no circumstances that you could say that's okay to do in.
We talked about the children, but what about the parents? So let's say that if you have a very good relation with with the other side's mom or dad, and now you're divorced, would you ruin that, like destroy that relation, or how would you cope with
Absolutely
that
not.
situation?
My children still go to India with their dad. When his family comes here, they go and see them. I've not done that because that's still part of them. That's still part of their life.
Right.
That's really important. Grandparents are so important in children's lives. So, but again, it is down to the other partner, be it the man or the woman, to keep that relationship going. It's not my duty of care. To an element it is. I remember saying to my son, it's your daddy's birthday today. Do you want to call her? Like, his dad didn't even remind him. I reminded him, it's your daddy's birthday. Do you want to call her?
Do you think people have seen you as a wrong person, like you are celebrating this party and you are promoting people to go in a divorce, and you are really making them feel, oh, it's a good thing, they should be happy about it?
I do say I'm not promoting divorce. What I'm saying, what my motto is, there is life after divorce. So I'm not saying, oh, hey, if you're unhappy, go get a divorce. Because trust me, it's not easy. I know for me, it was the right thing. I'm a completely different person. I'm happy is the key. I wasn't happy before. So it's not about promoting, but in Asian culture, getting a divorce is like, now you've got to sit in the corner and your life is over. I chose to have my life. True. And I've done a lot with it. My career has excelled. I'm now helping others. So obviously I wish I never had this journey because it was very, very painful. Yeah. But what I've done is taken that pain and turned it into a purpose. Yes. Because if you ask me the one thing I wanted in my life, the one thing was to get married and have children and have that happily ever after. I have the children, but I never got my happily ever after. So I'm not promoting divorce, don't get me wrong, and not everybody will see it the way I see it. But what I'm trying to say is, it doesn't mean your life is over either. And
how did that, let's talk about the party idea. So how did actually this idea came and originated? Originally, let's say you were obviously, it's a bit of a roller coaster ride. You're going through the sad moments and disappointment, and all of a sudden, what was the aha moment and say, look, okay, I want to do this? And I think it is a lot of courage, and you've been really brave to conduct such kind of event. So tell us a little bit of a story, how this all built up, and then you decided to go for it. What was going through your mind?
Dynamics at home were very stressful. We were all walking on eggshells, a lot of anxiety. So once we were free, I just wanted to celebrate this new lease of life. And I wanted to say thank you to my friends that had supported me all the way through. I mean, they saw a lot of tears. I cannot tell you how much I cried over those 12 years. Yes. And so we were just coming out of COVID, and it's my birthday in July. So I thought, I'll have a party for my birthday. And then you could only have like 30 people. Yeah. And I was like, well, I can't fit. I don't know how am I going to get 30 people, but I've got, a lot bigger circle. And so it kind of just moved forward. And we did it in September. So I just said I literally phoned my closest group of girls and I said, are you all free on this date? And they all said yes. And it was in the middle of August and the party date was September. And I just said, okay, as long as you are all free, I'm doing this party. And I said, what? I said, I'm going to call it a freedom party. It's going to be liberating myself, freedom. And I'm just going to have my friends over, the boys and their friends over. And just like, it was a family party in essence. And then it just roller coasted. And then I got a marquee, and then I got a bouncy castle, and then I got a cake. Right. Okay. And it just, accelerated, but it was the best day ever. Like, when you have your wedding reception? Yes. It was like that, but it was with my friends and phenomenal. Like my first dance was with my girls. It's really good. the more I thought, actually, do you know what? I've got knowledge that I could share more widely, because I met friends after the divorce that were also divorced or going through a divorce, and I suppose, mentored them through it without even realizing I was doing that.
Yes.
True. And they were saying, Sonia, you don't realize you give really good advice.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, do I? They were like, you need to do more. And so I was out one day with a friend of mine and said, I really want to do this. And she said, literally, what would you call it? And I said, well, I'll call it It's a Sonia Thing, because my divorce party was called It's a Sonia Thing. People telling me that I could do more and I could help others. And ideally, I want to get to a level where I can do more speaking events and talk to people and inspire them, because I think what I didn't realise and what I've been told is my journey gives other people hope and inspiration, which, you know, when you're in it yourself, you don't see it.
Yes.
It's only others that tell you that. And so people say to me, when I look at you, I see hope. I think that's the one thing I didn't have. And so if I can give that to somebody else, it's the best gift you can give them.
I think that this is really much needed as a need of the hour, where people need somebody to talk to and they don't really want to talk. That's why so many posts are anonymous, because they don't want to talk or tell the community, even their friends. So who they should talk to then? It's really
difficult.
Yeah, exactly.
My door is open.
Yeah.
My door is open.
Yes.
You know, I just want to help others, and whether inspire is the right word or give them the right guidance.
Yes.
Literally message me. I will get back to you. I will talk to you. I will help you decide what the right things to do. Even if it's a silly question, like, I don't know, I had somebody say to me, what do I do when my kids aren't at home? What do I do with myself? I'm bored. You know, what do I do with myself? Because that's a big thing. What do you do?
True.
Your kids have gone to the exes.
Yeah.
You're at home. Your life has been your children. And my answer was, you know what? Just take that time for you. Reflect on yourself. What I did, I started building my network up of people. So I now have this huge network. If I'm at a loose end, I just go and meet somebody.
Yeah.
So it's really important to build that network. But
finally, if you can tell people whoever is listening, how can they contact you? Is there a email or a Instagram or Facebook? I mean, can you tell a little bit on that?
Yeah, so I have, every channel. I have a website called It's a Sonia Thing. Mm-hmm. My Facebook page is called It's a Sonia Thing. You can't forget it. Yeah. And my Instagram page is called It's a Sonia Thing. So it's literally the same thing all the way through.
Everything is Sonia's thing.
Everything is called It's a Sonia Thing. So it's easy enough. I'm easy enough to find. So I'm on Google. Mm-hmm. I've got a website. I'm on Facebook and I'm on Instagram. So, and there's all contact details. Drop me a message. I am always on my phone. So perfect. I will respond as soon as I can, unless I'm working. But I will get back to you and we can arrange a chat, a call, a face-to-face meet up.
Yeah.
Open to all possibilities. Just here to support, really.
Cool. That's great. Thank you so much. I think
thank you for having me.
Yeah, we can wrap up here, and really, really great talking to you. And I'm sure people will be finding it useful for their personal circumstances. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Dad.
So there you have it. I hope you liked today's podcast, and the information in the podcast was pretty useful. And if any points are not clear or any doubts, please write in comments. We would love to have your comments. And please share and subscribe this channel and share the video and give me some likes. And also please tell me if there is any topic which you would like to discuss. I can bring them in the next podcast. And if you would like to be the part of this podcast, if you like to be the guest on this podcast, please email me on this email below. And I look forward to speaking to you in my next episode. Thank you.